Good morning, good afternoon. This is our first episode of the Casso podcast, Aristotle and the Philosopher. And we'll get into the names in a little bit later on in the podcast. But my name's Edward Casso, and this is my son, Aristotle Casso. We were looking for a way to try to get out there. I mean, just to kind of get out there and discuss politics, discuss life. Him and I do this a few times a week. We usually get cigars or we get a beer or two and have some good discussions going. So we thought, hey, everybody's doing it, but a lot of people aren't doing it in the way that I think that we want to approach doing it. Everybody's doing podcasts these days, from the former First Lady Michelle Obama to Joe Rogan to everybody that you can think of in entertainment and in politics, and they're doing podcasts now. And so I was like, hey, wait a minute. I want to. I mean, I post like everybody else on Facebook, Twitter, that kind of stuff, and that's not really fulfilling. I think that's kind of honestly a waste of time. And so I wanted to kind of get back out there. I mean, I'm a former state representative and an elected official, as we'll get into that as well. But I wanted to kind of utilize all that. And honestly, I could have done a podcast by myself. Um, but the way that this guy interacts with me, he's a funny, smart dude, and I think that he brings a lot to this podcast. And so I told him a few months ago, I said, hey, what about us doing one together, and kind of just having discussions about things, bro things, guy things, man things. I mean, just a general discussion, but kind of have some substance to it as well. And so that's where this idea kind of evolved from. And so basically, what I want to do at first, and I want to kind of tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Edward Casso. I was born in Denver, Colorado. I was raised in Thornton, Colorado up until about 9 years old. And then my mom and dad moved us over to Westminster. And I obviously grew up in both Thornton and Westminster. I went to Stanley Lake High School, go Gators. And then I, you know, was had the grades and aptitude to apply to college. And so the one place I did want to go to, for a lot of reasons, football reasons, academic reasons, it was close, those kind of things. And so I ended up enrolling when I was 17 at the University of Colorado at Boulder. And so my first 2 years, I was a political science major. And it really wasn't giving me the direction that I wanted from my academic career. And so I I took a couple, I wouldn't say a few, I'd say I took a couple philosophy classes, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. And then I talked to a couple professors, and they were like, hey, you can actually major in political philosophy. And that was kind of a revelation. I'll be honest, at first I wasn't a good student. I was one of those freshman kids that got to school, had freedom, liked hanging out with the guys, like partying, that kind of stuff like that. So my academic record wasn't good up to that point. But switching my major over to political philosophy actually had me on track to do eventually what I came to do and what I wanted to do in life. And that was kind of make a difference. And so I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in 1997 from the University of Colorado. And at that point, I actually got married as well to Aristotle's mother. And we had a daughter, Cecilia, who who's about to be 27 here coming up in a month. And so um, God had all that going. And so we had Cecilia in 1998. And then this guy came along in 2001. And I wanted to, his name is Aristotle Casso, and I wanted to give him a name to kind of live up to. And so my favorite philosopher during my studies, and I was in a fraternity as well, Sigma Lambda Beta, but it was just kind of wanted to give him like a philosopher's name for lack of a better way to say it. And so we settled on Aristotle. My family and my ex-wife wanted to give him a biblical name too, and so Jeremiah, came from the Old Testament. So we would say, and a lot of people won't know how to say Aristotle, but a lot of people will mess it up or they won't know how to say it or like that. So we're like, oh well, we can give him a name AJ, and so that's why he's known as AJ as well. And so we named him Aristotle Jeremiah Casso the First. I fully anticipated that he was going to conquer the world and be president before he was 36. He still might. And so that's where his name came from. Now, the podcast is called Aristotle and the Philosopher because that's my name, and not in some grandiose thing that I think I'm Aristotle or I'm some academic or some thinker that actually is that profound or anything like that. It doesn't come from that. It comes actually from my fraternity. In college, we got to pick how we wanted to be identified in the fraternity, and I wanted to be identified as philosopher, and so that's where my name came from, and it kind of just sticks like names do. People, no one ever calls me Edward or Ed or Eddie. Most people call me Casso because of my time in the legislature or philosopher. Or, I mean, it's kind of like a nickname for lack of a better way to say it. But so yeah, we did that. Eventually, I did. Back when I was a little kid, even I wanted to run for office. I thought that being in politics, or I mean, it was a good way to get in and help people. And so, when I was a young kid, I used to watch Ronald Reagan. I used to watch, you know, Bill Clinton. I used to watch all these people, and I was like, man, that's something that I want to do. I want to be able to make laws or interpret laws or to help with law to help people. And so that's why I was like, as soon as I can, as soon as it's feasible, I'm going to run for office. And that's exactly what I did. We came back and we eventually settled back in Thornton where I was born. And so I decided in 2004 to run for the Colorado House of Representatives. And I was very, very young at the time. And there aren't a lot of people that run for office in their late 20s, early 30s, but I definitely was one of them. And so I like to always tell the story too that I mean, I had a lot of people help me. I had a lot of people be there for me, but this guy was there for me every day because he had to be. He wasn't in school yet. He was only 4 when we first started campaigning. And so, unfortunately, every summer, this guy and myself were walking precincts and knocking on apartment doors and going to this house and that. We saw dogs standing on a roof one time. He ruined many computers by being at meetings with me and then spilling his orange juice on someone's computer. I mean, just a lot of funny stuff. But this guy was my main partner when we were campaigning that first time. And so we eventually got to where we needed to be, and I did win that election in 2006, and it was because of all of my family, friends, and all the people I know, but it definitely was because of this guy too. And so we've had that bond as a father and son, and I'm very, very proud of it. As anybody that knows me knows how proud I am of this guy and everything that he's done. But just the way he approaches life, I like his approach to politics. He doesn't think that he knows it all. He doesn't act like he knows it all. He has a very, very nuanced interpretation, and we talk about it a lot because, you know, I just turned 51 a couple months ago, and I think a lot of the times that I do know it all. I think a lot of the times that I do have all the answers, and a lot of the times my son is able to ground me and say, "Hey, wait a minute, what about this, Dad? What about that, Dad?" And it's just we get a really, really good deep conversation going on things in this world, and I think that's beneficial. And I think that honestly, hopefully, with this podcast, we can talk to other people about. Um, just to kind of wrap up myself, right now I'm very, very lucky to have met my wife, Sonia, and actually our the anniversary of our first date was yesterday, and so 7 years ago I met Sonia, and she literally is everything to me. It's everything that I had waited for. It's everything that I wanted in a partner, and I'm just a very blessed man to have her in my life. So that encapsulates a little bit of me and kind of my perspective where we're coming from. When it comes to talking politics, I would like to think that I do know what I'm saying, but I love this guy next to me when we're doing it because if I don't know what I'm saying, if anyone knows that I don't know what I'm saying, it's this guy, if that makes any sense. So, without any further blah, 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 let me turn it over to my son, Aristotle, so he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Uh, Thanks, Dad. That was super nice. Uh, my name's Aristotle. I'm just a dude. Uh, a dude with a brain, I would say, is the best way to describe it.
Absolutely.
Me and my sister always get into it, and I always tell her, like, you know who our parents are? Like, of course we're gonna disagree. Of course we're gonna be this way. My dad's 100% right. When we would get cigars and whatnot, we'd do exactly what we plan to do here, except now we're on camera doing it, and I think that's super awesome. Uh, again, just a dude, but I very much pride myself on sticking up for the little guy and fighting for the little guy. Whatever that might be, sometimes that might be a little big guy or a little small guy, but I always just try to defend my points, and my beliefs are always for people and loving each other. And if there's no love and if there's hate and whatnot, then I'm always gonna have an opinion about it. Sometimes this guy always disagrees with me about it, but that's pretty much where all my philosophy comes from. Uh, I was growing up easy living, especially with my dad. I mean, I've
Yeah.
talking about, oh, we get cigars and we have these conversations. We'd get like lunch, 8 years old, get lunch, and we'd be having these conversations. So I've
Mhm.
been well like bred into having conversations about making me think and whatnot. So I love that we're finally able to get it started. Um, but other than that, yeah, no, I'm really excited to get it started, get it going, start the conversations, start talking about literally everything we talk about, just monetizing it now, just putting it out for everybody else to hear what we talk about,
Yeah.
which is kind of intimidating.
And I have to add on to what my son says. He sells himself short now. He shouldn't have this complex, but he does, and I know he does, and he shouldn't. His mom, his sister, and myself, we have 6 degrees between us, and my son ended up not going to college for a lot of reasons, and I'm sure we'll get into it in the podcast and stuff. He unfortunately lost his mother when he was 11 years old, and that kind of dictated his life for the next 10, 12 years. And so, but I like to tell everybody, and I mean it with all of my heart, and I'll look him in the eyes and I'll look anybody in the eyes, and even this camera in the eyes, and say, all those degrees that his mom, his sister, and I have, he is still the smartest person in our family. And that's what I like to, I really, really enjoy saying that to people, because you don't have to have a college degree, or you don't have to have this life experience in order to have value, or to give back to the world. And so I always like telling people, hey, and he still might. I mean, he's young. My son's only 24 years old, so he might go back to college. If he doesn't, I will still, until the day I'm gone, say he is the smartest person out of us four, and that's with all those other degrees. And so he sells himself a little bit short, but he's a good kid, and that's what a lot of people have told me. That's what a lot of people know. He bartends, and everybody loves him. I mean, he has the most sales. He obviously makes good tips. He
Thanks,
does. I mean, we when we when we're at the bar, I mean, we have these type of conversations because that's what you do when you're at a bar. But a lot of people tell me what a good kid I raised, and I say, hey, that's on him. It's not on me. I'd like to think that I put the things in motion, but he actually does it himself. So I'm real proud of you, son. I'm real proud to start this with you. I don't think of anyone on this earth, and I know a lot of smart people. I know a lot of people in politics, obviously, and I know a lot of people, but I wouldn't start this with anyone except you, because I think that we'll be able to give a lot of value to people out there and help them navigate this mess of a political system that we have right now, and this mess of a world that we have right now. I think that we can give them a lot of options.
Thanks, Dad. And I think this goes without saying. I tell everybody, they say, "Who's your dad?" I tell them that's and it's different. A lot of people don't understand, and I get that. But I tell people my dad will forever be my best friend. And it's weird because,
Yeah.
oh, that's your dad, but I mean it. I mean every ounce of that uh, sentence. And you'll kind of see that as we keep going, that we're more. I don't know. I wouldn't say we're more friends, but we have that.
No, we're more brothers. And let me get a little antidote to our friends out there listening right now. We do what's called bros, whatever, and it was a tradition we started a long time ago. But we every before every holiday, or before every time we went on vacation, or before our birthdays and stuff, we do what's called bros birthday, bros vacation, bros bros giving, bros miss.
Bros just because we should,
Yeah, bros
Yeah.
just because it's Wednesday night. And so I and again, it's not. I always people always give me that look like, oh, well, you can't raise your kids to be friends with you. It's not how it happened. It was very organic that this guy is my best friend on earth. I mean, he just is. And I think that us doing those kind of things solidify that kind of stuff. And so this is just really cool to do. And I hope you guys think so as well.
Well, on top of that too, my father was also my football coach. So I mean, as much as a father son could hang out is what we've done.
Yeah,
It's what we continue to do.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, how many times at the bar do we talk about it with other people? It's like, man, we have all of these stories and all of these fun times and all of these things, including, by the way, learning how to play football. This guy sells himself short too on that. He was okay. He was maybe he wasn't in the NFL. Neither was I, but I would still put this guy to block anybody or tackle anybody on earth because he knows his fundamentals. And so he was a I enjoyed watching him play, and it was fun to coach him for 5 years as well.
yeah, no, definitely at the bar. Those are my favorite stories to tell. Is somebody will, and
Yeah,
it's not a measuring contest at all, but somebody will tell a story of like how they were raised and blah blah blah, and then I'll give one of my stories, and it's like the whole bar. I mean, it's a pretty big bar.
yeah,
The whole bar is listening to me talk, which is very intimidating. But those are my favorite stories.
yeah. Those are the best stories, and that was. I mean, we were going through a lot too. I mean, obviously, and I'm sure we'll get into this more and more with your mom and stuff like that. We had issues. I mean, we got divorced. Your mom and myself got divorced in 2008. You were only 7 years old at the time. I mean, and so that and being able to go to football practice with you and being able to do those kind of things actually, I think, helped both of us get through the tough time. But it just made that bond even stronger. And it's just like now, it's like I really do consider. Obviously, I know you're my son, but I consider you my brother, and that's a big deal for me. Yeah,
And another big part about who we are, which needs to be mentioned, is we're the biggest nerds on the planet. From Star Wars, especially. I mean, that was my first tattoo was a Star Wars tattoo, but it's because of my dad. To Marvel, DC, all that stuff. We're super big nerds into stuff like that. So definitely that's gonna be a yeah. We got lightsabers on the table if you can
yeah. These are our
see
props right here. This is Emperor Palpatine's lightsaber from Star Wars, which of course my son got for me for my birthday a couple years ago, and this is literally my favorite toy. And I have a lot of toys. If you guys can see the other side of the room, I have a lot. He has more than I do, but I have a lot of toys too. And then he has what 17 lightsabers. This
one
is
too many.
yeah, this is his right there. I think what is that, Luke's or
That's a lot.
Kenobi's? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then I put gold Darth Vader out there today to represent. For whatever reason, the logo that I chose was black and gold. I think because of Colorado, University of Colorado, but I think it just looks good. I think it's clean, and so I put gold Vader out there just kind of because it's gold. I mean, literally, that's the reason I put him out there is because he's gold. But I have what do I have? Almost every Funko Pop Vader and Palpatine, the Emperor.
Yeah, you
They're all
got
sitting back here.
got a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
wait till
Oh,
it.
I should have put the gold pyramid.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't think of that. Oh, for next week, there'll be a gold pyramid
And
sitting up here.
next week I'll start bringing more of my stuff. No, we have a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
uh, definitely big nerds.
Yeah.
Um, big nerds. Totally off the rails, but just this will make sense once I explain. What got you into Star Wars especially?
Well, I mean, it was that I was that at that age, I was at the right age when it came out. I was 3 years old, and so I literally was at that right age for toys, all everything. And so my mom and dad took me, and it was like wow. And so I had that first lightsaber, and it was speaking of gold, it was this color, but it was supposed to be the blue one.
And it was hollow on the bottom, right?
Well, it was basically a flashlight flashing into a plastic tube, like a literally one that you had to blow air into.
Hmm.
And I thought it was so cool. And then one of my cousins came over and popped it, and so that literally destroyed my life when I was like 4 years old. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And then obviously anybody that's my age loved the Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I Now here you talk about a nerd. I get my politics a lot from Star Wars. Now everybody hates the prequels, Episode 1, 2, and 3. I love them because that's all it is politics, lightsabers, and the Sith. And so that's where I kind of get I was like, oh, I didn't think I could like it more, and now I like it even better. Now what's going on in this country right now as far as not
Oh
respecting the
my
rule,
gosh.
not respecting the rule of law and that kind of stuff. Well, maybe I was too big of a fan of Emperor Palpatine because I thought, hey, if I ever was Emperor Palpatine, I would make things good, not make things bad. And we'll get into what I think is bad over the next, hopefully, few years. But yeah, so for me, it was just that thing. It was like super fantasy. I was the right age at the right time. I literally had thousands of Star Wars figures, all the ships, everything, and then it just like I'm sure like everybody that's in my demographic, Generation X, they they still. I mean, how many times did we go see the movies when you guys were kids? I mean, we saw Episode 3, I think was the first one that came out when you were a kid, and we saw it 28 times in the theaters or some crazy thing. And we went to Burger King to get all. We tried to collect every toy, and so then it literally the same thing that implanted on me when I was that age. You were that age, and Episode 3 came out, and then I mean, we used to go when the new ones came out a few years ago. We would go and we'd be the first ones in the theater. We'd be clapping. I mean, we'd be the whole thing, and so I still to this day I still love everything about Star Wars and it's part of me. But I do like that it's actually coming to to be part of what I think and how I perceive the world too. In the politic realms, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. If I was in the Senate, no, I'm just kidding. Just that kind of stuff. And so it actually has become even cooler as I've gotten older.
For me, it's as easy as Darth Vader, Luke, that father son story. Uh, I mean that's the coolest thing ever. Uh, I I eat father son stories up the most out of anything,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've ever told you that. I mean, you went on this long tangent, but that's all I gotta say is that's why I like it,
Yeah.
and that's why we're doing this.
Yeah. Well, a few weeks ago, remember I told you I was talking to one of your patrons at the bar, and I was like, I didn't realize how much what I said and did affected you and your sister. I mean, look at her. I mean, she loves this. I mean, I used to like that kind of music, and she loves it. And she has taken it, I mean, she loves it infinitely beyond the way I liked it when I used to play it for you guys or around you guys and stuff like that. Same thing with Star Wars. I thought I liked it, but you're a
Oh,
thousand times
dude.
bigger fan. I mean, so that's kind of cool that some of the stuff that you showed your kids and they were like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I was reading something the other day about that kind of stuff, and you tried to give positive influences in your life, and so I hope that I affected you guys in that way too.
It's cost me a lot of money, but
You can always sell it back, but
yeah,
I'm just joking.
thousand lightsabers and
Yeah.
helmets and blah blah
Oh
blah.
yeah, I
But
forgot to mention your helmet collection. I have a serious helmet collection too because of him. He's every time it's Christmas or my birthday, he buys me something cool. I have a Sith Trooper helmet right there. I have an Emperor Royal Guard helmet in the other room that phew, I don't know if too many people that have that one.
no, that one, yeah, that
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
that hurt.
that one. And so your your hobby has become my hobby by default because you get me a lot of cool stuff too. So
Did you see the Stranger one I just picked up?
yeah,
I hate the Acolyte. The Acolyte sucks, but
no, it doesn't. It's the best lightsaber seen in all of it.
it's really bad. But I just picked that one up. I forget where I was gonna go with the rest of that.
It's okay. Well, no, we're just talking. We're again this first episode. We're not going to get anything into anything too heavy. We're going to kind of focus just on the introductions and asking people to like and follow and share.
Oh, that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say. Like he was talking about taking things and whatnot. My favorite thing is this is a real example. A couple weeks ago, I was, life was happening, life was lifing and going down and whatnot. And my dad could obviously tell that I was stressed out about it. So he came to the bar and, I'm talking about it and whatnot. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? It's like what you say, drop the bricks. He told me that once when I was a
yeah,
kid. But I remembered that and I said, oh, it's just remember what you like, just like what you said, drop the bricks. And he said, how did you remember that? I took it when I was a kid and I listened. And then obviously life was got easier throughout the weeks and whatnot, but that's what I kept in my mind.
Now, no, okay, now, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm glad that's a good lesson to know. But you do you know where I got that from?
No.
I got it from that movie, The Devil's Advocate, and literally Al Pacino as the devil tells his son, tells his son who is I guess
And
the
Keanu Reeves,
Antichrist.
yeah.
He says, life, or he's like, no, he's like, guilt is like a bag of bricks. All you have to do is set it down. And I was like, man, that's tough. But yeah, I get a lot of movie quotes. And I govern my life on movie quotes. I'm just joking,
Yeah,
but
no,
no, kind of do.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not lying.
So,
Uh, but
but yeah,
that was huge.
yeah,
That was a big one. Where I guess like I don't know, I don't have any kids, but I don't know the opposite end of that. So I could only imagine the opposite end of having your son remember something from I don't know 8 years ago.
even longer than that, dude. I think we used to, and it's funny because most of the stuff that I try to pull, I pull from stuff that we watched, and so we probably watched that movie 20 years ago, and it's still part of it. But yeah, that's where a lot of that stuff comes. But it's cool. I mean, I always took pride in knowing, especially when I had like a tough, like when I was a lawmaker, I didn't call our press office. I didn't call another politician. I didn't call anything. If I had any advice that I needed, I always called my dad. And so that I kind of took that into account. My dad was a very, very smart dude. Again, he didn't go to college like you, son, but smart as they come, really. And so a lot of the times when I would get myself in trouble in the legislature, especially politicking, especially against other people in my same party. I had, I think I have the most vetoes of any someone in the same party in the history of Colorado. He was just like anything that had my name on it would get vetoed. But yeah, when it came to dealing with the governor and stuff like that, I called my dad and asked for advice because I knew I could trust it, and I knew anything that he said was going to be in my best interest and the interest of Colorado. And so that I'm glad that you got those lessons too, son, because I've always told you, and I tell your sister, I would never conscientiously give you guys bad advice. I'm always trying to lift you guys up. I'm always trying to help you, and I thought that makes me proud as a father that you guys say stuff like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it gets so bad. We recently, well, not recently, but just moved. There's a couple, whatever. We just moved out and
It's
whatnot.
pretty recent, given
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Well, me and my lovely, lovely girlfriend just moved out. Um, and it's been so. He was talking about talking in movie quotes. It was getting so bad. There was one night I was like, I'm sad. I miss home. I want to watch Star Wars or something like that. And a quote came on. I'm sitting there in my living room crying like a child because it's talking in movie quotes.
Yeah, yeah,
My dad used to tell me
yeah.
that.
No, it's funny. And then a lot of it is not so serious. A lot of it's stupid. I mean, we were just quoting what is the name of the bar in Weird Science. What is the name of the bar in Weird Science?
What is it?
The candy bar
I see.
with a K.
You remember that every time. Every time.
Yeah, but so stuff like that. And so I think that's cool. I think that a lot of people can relate to that because I think a lot of people out there have those same type of relationships with their parents, with their siblings, with their friends and family. And so I think being able to kind of show that side of us is cool. And like I said, when let's kind of get back on topic just a little bit because we're gonna probably wrap it up there. Our initial episode was basically just to kind of introduce what we're gonna do, and we plan on coming out with a initial episode, obviously this Friday, and then every week we want to at least do one episode, and then eventually once we get a following and once we're able to do this a lot more and invest a lot more time and energy into it, we definitely want maybe even go to two a week so we can have a podcast during the week and a podcast during the weekend. But getting back to what we're doing, we and me and AJ have Aristotle AJ. That'll be intermittent. I'm used to calling you AJ, but your name is Aristotle. That's what
Yeah,
everybody at the
same.
bar calls you. But
Yeah, that's how. Yeah,
yeah, you're used to calling
it
me
gets rough.
dad, and no one else really calls me anything. But um, and so basically, what I want to do is I want to use this platform to kind of be another voice out there. And you hear a lot coming from the left. You hear a lot coming from the right. In the last 6, 7, 8 years, you hear a lot coming from MAGA. You hear a lot coming from the president himself, this and that, but you don't hear a centrist voice. I firmly believe, just from studying, just from thinking about it, and honestly, the data itself says that 80% of us are in the middle. We we don't like when either party's extreme. We don't like when extremist views come into play. We don't like this. We don't like that. But there's a big, big silent majority in the middle that has been ignored, to be quite frank. And so I really want to kind of use this podcast to speak to those people, because I don't think a lot of people are speaking to those people. You have everybody, and we will really get into this because I think it's important. We have everybody defending their own home turf, their own flag. I like to think to back when I was a kid, and I didn't support him. I still don't support him even after the fact. But when Ronald Reagan at least attempted to unify the country, you know what I mean? We were Americans first, and Republicans and Democrats second. And I think just the toxicity of the politics these days has gotten us to a point where we're away from that. And since I don't believe that there's any other podcast out there, I think that we can add value to the conversation that's going on out there. I want to be funny. I want to be entertaining. Hopefully, you guys will tune in and think that we are funny and entertaining, because why would you watch us? We're not a news program. I'm not a journalist. My son's not a journalist. We're actually first time podcasters. This is the first time we've actually ever turned on a recording device to record what we're doing. But we think that the some of the discussions that we've had in life have really actually changed the way I think about politics and current events, and have actually helped me, kind of navigate through this world. And I hope my son can say the same when he talks to me. And so what we want to do is use this podcast as a way to get out there. Everybody else is doing it. We all know the names, we all know what they're doing, but hopefully we can give some credibility to that middle part of America that doesn't have a voice right now, because MAGA really is dominating this country, for better or for worse, or for right or for wrong. But the Democrats, the way that they respond is tribalistic as well. They oh, I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
son.
I think the best way to put it is I want to come at it humbly, not I I'm wrong a lot, and I'm not embarrassed to admit that I'm wrong.
Sure.
I don't know why, I understand why people get embarrassed, but I'm not embarrassed to be wrong. I think that my ideas are for the betterment of everybody else, but most sometimes I'm wrong on that too. And I don't think there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but yeah, I don't know. If you look at how it is today, I mean, you say one thing, or if you back one thing, or if you're on board with one thing, you better be
Yeah.
on board with all of it.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that.
No.
And I think a lot of people feel that way too,
No.
but are way too afraid to say anything. I mean, if somebody talks bad about what we're going about, then they're
Mm-hmm.
seen as this way, or
Yeah.
the complete opposite. They're seen the complete opposite way.
Yeah.
And I think if we're all sharing ideas, I mean, that's what we're supposed to do as humans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thank God, really, we have brains to be able to, and empathy. We should to look out for everybody's interest, not just your own interest. But with that being said, I think that us particularly, whether we're not humble in the moment, can find being humble. Whether I'm wrong, my dad will keep me honest, and
Mm-hmm.
I for sure will keep my dad honest. If I think that's what people need, because I mean, there's a huge deal with being humble and coming out of love instead of coming out of hate or malice or any other way other than eh, eh, disagreeing is disagreeing, but making somebody feel dumb or that they're wrong is I don't I that's my
Yeah.
biggest gripe with
Yeah.
today's politics.
Yeah. And I think you hit it the nail on the head. I mean, humbling ourselves, taking a step back. I don't agree with everything. I tend to lean a little bit to the left as far as the political spectrum is concerned, but I don't agree with it. I think the Democratic Party is just as flawed as the Republican Party, if not more so. And so, and that a lot of people will always come at me and they're like, "Well, you served as a Democrat," and yeah, I did. But I'll be honest, most of my adult life, not I wouldn't say most of my adult life, but the good majority of my adult life, I've been registered independent, including right now. And it's not because I don't like my Democratic friends or the people I served with or the people that supported me when I was a lawmaker and that kind of stuff. It's because I don't like the system itself. And I think that we can use this platform and this podcast to say, hey, none of us, even if you do identify with your party a little bit more than somebody else does, none of us have to accept what's going on, and none of us have to not be able to speak out and say, hey, wait a minute, everything's wrong. Even the system itself is flawed. And so that's kind of where I want to take us, especially when we start actually doing segments and stuff on this. Not because we're news, again, we're not journalists, we're not news reporters, we're not anything like that, but we are middle class Americans in the middle of the parties. And I think there's a lot of value to start empowering and helping other people say, hey, wait a minute, I don't like it at all. And once we start doing that, and collectively we start doing that, I think we can be a voice of change. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I just want to kind of wrap up the episode today and say thank you to my son for coming out. We both are working full time still and everything like that, so we're taking time out to do this. But I think it's really important. And like I said, I think that people who listen to our podcast will get value from it, and I think that's the biggest thing. But I think they also should be entertained, and I think that once I'll be honest, I'm a little bit nervous right now. I'm sure this guy is too. He's never nervous about talking to anybody, but you could tell today he was.
I think it's just the camera and
Yeah,
like, you know what I
yeah.
mean. I've looked at it like
I
twice.
don't want to
Yeah,
look at the camera.
I've
I'm
looked
just
at it like
joking.
twice.
But and so I I think that hopefully, if it turns out the way that I envision it, that we will have a lot of substantive discussions, but a lot of fun doing this. So with that being said, I'd like to thank my Sunny Boy, my co-host Aristotle, and I will call him Sunny Boy because that's what I call him mostly, actually more than AJ. But sitting next to me, so I'm gonna sign off for him and myself and say thank you for tuning in, turning in. Thank you for that's what we have to do afterwards. But thanks for tuning in to our first episode of the Casso podcast, Aristotle and the Philosopher. Please check us out on all social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and anywhere you can find podcasts. We will be video streaming to Spotify and to YouTube, and we will be audio streaming anywhere you can catch podcasts. So, for my son Aristotle and myself, thank you, and we'll see you guys next week.